A vast majority of the car enthusiasts assume that massive gains in engine performance and ECU tuning is restricted to modern turbocharged petrol engines. However, in today's episode, we are going to show you guys two of the most mod-friendly diesel engines we've seen in recent times. So behind me is the Toyota Fortuner with the 2.8-litre BS6 engine, and today this car is going to be getting a stage 1 tune. Before we start the tuning process for any car, the cars have to undergo a mandatory physical check to check for coolant leaks, oil leaks or any other unknown issues that these cars might have come to us with. So let's begin the process of checking this car out and making sure that it's in mint condition before we start tuning it. The car is mechanically looking fine, so now we are going to load the car off the lift, put it on the dyno and do some baseline numbers and check if the car looks okay on the dyno as well. The first step to dyno testing these cars is to basically turn off the start stop. Then we are going to put the car in the most aggressive setting, which is the sports mode, and then we are going to turn off traction so that traction control does not kick in while we are doing the run. Now that we have finished dyno testing the car, let's take a look at the Dynocharts to see what the results look like. Toyota claims 201 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque on this engine. However, from our dyno results, we can see that the car clearly makes a little more torque than what the factory claim is. However, the car made less power at 193 horsepower. Looking at the power curves, what is really fascinating is to see how the power curve remains pretty much flat all the way from 2500 RPM to about 3700 RPM. However, it looks like this turbo on the Fortuner 2.8-litre diesel engine cannot flow a lot up in the higher RPMs, and that is why you see a significant drop in power after 3700 RPM. The next step is to take a read of the stock file and send that file over to our ECU calibrators so that they can edit the file and send us revision 1 of the stage 1 tune. Once we receive the revision 1 of the stage 1 tune, we are going to flash that to the car, datalog it and dyno test it in order to see if any improvements can be made further. If there is a possibility to make further improvements, we are going to go through a couple of revisions until we are satisfied. Now we are going to flash the final revision that we are happy with and redyno the car to show you guys the final results. What you guys are seeing in front of your screen right now is the comparison of the horsepower curve between the stock car and the stage 1 car. The stock Fortuner 2.8-litre diesel engine made about 193 horsepower. However, with a stage 1 tune, it made a whopping 235 horsepower. That is a massive difference of 40 to 45 horsepower in the area under the curve on this particular engine with a stage 1 tune. Now let's take a look at the torque curve. The black line represents the stock curve and the peak numbers we made on the stock car was about 538 Nm. However, on our stage 1 tune, we made a whopping 622 Newton meters of torque. That is a decent jump of almost 90 Nm torque compared to the stock car. Now, let us show you guys why dyno testing these torque converter automatic gearboxes can be a nightmare for most dyno shops across the world. Unlike the manuals or the DSG, the PDK or the ZF8 gearboxes, where we just put the cars in manual mode and stomp on the throttle fully from 1800 RPM to do a pull, doing the same on the torque converter gearboxes actually ends up with the gearbox aggressively downshifting to a lower gear, thus rendering the run completely useless. In order to overcome this, the only way to get a valid run is to get the torque converter to lock and then ease into the throttle till about 2200 RPM and then go wide open throttle. This method of dyno testing cars is not very accurate as the HP and the torque curves up to 2200 RPM can be a little skewed, and on a diesel engine that has a very narrow power band, it may give an impression that the torque is coming in a little too late. However, when you're driving on the road, that will not be the case. A few years ago, if you had told us that a Toyota diesel motor could make 40 to 70 horsepower and up to 150 Newton meters of torque with just a tune and some bolt-on parts, we would have said that that would be impossible going by the track record of tuning these Toyota engines. However, the newer Gen 2.4 and the 2.8 D4D engines are quite mod friendly, and these cars can put out some insane numbers on the Toyota Hiluxes as well if you just put a decat downpipe and do a DPF delete. The stock car made 193 horsepower and 538 Newton meters of torque. And with a stage 1 tune, we managed to eke out 235 horsepower and 622 Nm of torque. So that's a gain of 42 horsepower and 85 Nm. And if you think the gains are less, a stock VRS, when we put a stage 1 tune, makes about 40 horsepower and about 100 Newton meters of torque. The second car we are going to be working on today is this Volkswagen Polo 1.5 TDI manual transmission. Don't be fooled by the fact that this is a 1500cc engine. When we tune these cars make up to 35 to 40 horsepower and 60 to 70 Newton meters of torque with just a stage 1 tune and no other hardware upgrades. However, the PCR 2.1 ECU on these cars need to be unlocked for OBD reading and writing. So let us do the unlocking procedure now, and then we will dyno the car in the stock form, and then we will flash a stage 1 tune and re-dyno the car again and show you guys the before and after numbers. Just in case you guys are wondering why we are looking a bit perplexed looking at the dyno charts, that is because the numbers we were looking at on our screens made no sense whatsoever. Typically, these cars make around 100 to 105 horsepower and 250 Newton meters on our dyno. However, this allegedly stock car made 122 horsepower and 294 Nm. It turns out that this car was bought used and the current owner wasn't aware of the fact that it was already tuned. Just to confirm our theory, we then flashed the stock FRF file back onto the car and re-dynoed it again to confirm our suspicion. And goes without saying that with the stock file flashed to this Polo, it just made 95 horsepower and 255 Nm. Having tuned over 50 of these 1.5, 1.6 TDI engines since the arrival of our dyno, we were certain of making huge gains even over the previous tune, and thus we began the process of flashing a stage 1 ECU tune on this car. What you guys are seeing in front of your screens right now is the dyno chart comparing the stock tune, Tuner X's tune and our stage 1 ECU tune. Our tune gained a peak of 22 horsepower over Tuner X, even with higher gains all through the RPM range. For example, at 3500 RPM, our tune made 31 horsepower over Tuner X and 48 horsepower over the stock tune. And when you look at the torque curve, you can clearly see how much effort has gone into our ECU tune as well. At 3500 RPM, our tune made 62 Nm more torque than Tuner X and 98 Nm over the stock tune. This is what makes the Volkswagen Skoda 1.5 TDI engines one of our most favorite engines to tune. And just to put things into perspective, the gains on an E8888 Gen 3 1.8 TSI cars with the stage 1 tune are less than what we make on these 1.5 TDI engines. So if anyone says buy a turbocharged petrol car if you want to mod it and make huge gains, point them to this video and show them how diesel engines can be equally mod friendly as well. Apart from these engines, we also have some amazing tunes for the BMW 2 liter and the 3 liter diesel engines, the Audi, Volkswagen, Skoda 2.0 TDI and the 3.0 TDI engines, and the totally underrated Isuzu 2.5 diesel engine.
So guys, this is Rohan. I'm basically from Bangalore. Here I have with me my daily driver, 2014 Polo 1.5 TDI. Post the remap, the car has been more refined. The typical diesel clatter that we had has reduced. Under normal driving circumstances, the fuel efficiency has increased. We have around 145 HP and about 320 Nm torque, which has been dyno verified, and that is one of the main reasons I went to Harmonixx, so that I can get a lot of facts and data along with the tune. Throttle response has been great, and the way the power is being delivered is it's a lot more aggressive, I would say, to minimize the wheel spin and to be a little easier on the gearbox, the clutch, and also the drive shafts. So I have been looking at Harmonixx page on Instagram and the kind of cars they are working on. There is also an added advantage that Harmonixx has a dyno at their facility, and it's not just a remap that they are providing with numbers set by mouth. You can put the car on the dyno, you can extract all of the data and facts along with the remap. Yeah, Rahul has been great. So I contacted him about 1.5 months ago, and he has been extremely responsive, and he was patient enough to answer all my queries, and that gave me the confidence to reach out to Harmonixx and choose them as my remap specialist.
And that's the end to a very interesting day. Stay tuned for more such car content from us by following our YouTube channel.